Welcome to Defining Moments Podcast. This is Margie, the editor and producer of Defining Moments Podcast. Thank you for listening to the show today. If you would like to follow us, you can find us on social media, on Twitter at DefMomentsPod, on Instagram at Defining Moments Podcast, and also on YouTube, search Defining Moments Podcast. Are you ready for another undefeated show? Let's roll.
We're good.
Governor?
Yeah.
We're good. Margie,
This is friends.
I'm with friends.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Undefeated Show, Defining Moments Podcast, located here at Project 3810, the house that Kyle Golding built. And today's very, very special guest is the All-American, undefeated Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Oklahoma, Lieutenant Governor Pinnell. Welcome to the podcast,
Well,
sir.
thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. Yes, loved having you back.
We're not in the closet anymore.
No.
We're
upgraded.
This is amazing. That was
Yeah,
about 4 years ago, I think.
It was about 4 years ago. We were in the closet, kind of, and then
Yeah.
met up with Kyle Golding, and he's like, "Hey, I've got they got the Palace on the Prairie down south in Oklahoma. And he's got the palace on the podcasting palace here in
Yeah.
Oklahoma City. So
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
we are here.
We are here.
It's fantastic.
It's been great. It's been great to see your journey.
Well, it's been a journey, all right.
Yeah.
We're coming up to 4 years
Yeah.
in office, and running again in November, and hopefully we'll have 4 more years, so 8 years.
Yep.
I hope.
Yeah.
But the 4 years has been quite a ride.
Mm-hmm.
Some days you wonder why you got involved in politics. I never thought. I knew what I was getting myself into.
Sure.
But I didn't think we'd have the worst flood in state history. That was year one, right into a global pandemic.
Right.
Essentially, one kind of led right into the next. And
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride, but I've been so proud of how Oklahoma has conducted itself, how we've kind of risen above a lot of the divisiveness in this country. And that Oklahoma standard, we've seen a lot of instances of that over the last 4 years, particularly during COVID.
Yeah.
I even did a short podcast series, Oklahoma Proud series, just interviewing good Oklahomans that were helping people during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Because that Oklahoma standard it's a big deal. It's
Yeah.
real. It's not just a slogan.
Right.
It's real, and it helps draw a lot of people to the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah. Question: What do you feel like? You've been around Oklahoma for nearly your whole life. You've been to all 27 districts, all these counties, 77, I think.
Yep.
What's the culture you feel? What's the Oklahoma culture like to you?
You know, the thing that really stands out when people say, what's unique about Oklahoma, or kind of that imagine that kind of moment, is our diversity. So, we have 12 different ecosystems in Oklahoma. And I think it's just because a lot of people think we're a dust bowl. It's just the opposite. We're so diverse in our landscape and in our people. Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to lean in on that because, next generation talent that can live anywhere in the world, not just 49 other states, by the way, but they can live anywhere in the world, particularly this remote working environment that we all live in today. Mm-hmm. They want to live in a diverse community, melting pot, so to speak.
Sure.
And you don't think melting pot immediately when you think Oklahoma City or you think Oklahoma, but it is. It truly is. In both our landscape and in our people. And I'm not just talking about our 39 sovereign nations, but that is a big part of it. Yeah. But thriving Hispanic and Korean and African-American communities across the state, not just in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, but around these 77 counties. And so I talk a lot about that diversity. I talk a lot about that outdoor recreation that we have as well. That's something that unfortunately Arkansas has done a really good job of promoting, that, well, we have everything they have. Yeah. And we have pretty much what any other state has from an outdoor recreational level outside of an ocean. Right. But outside of that, like, we got more man-made lakes than any other state, more shoreline than most states. So, but we've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about it. We've got to market it. You all get marketing. You guys are marketing wizards here. But you got to talk about things. We're in this microwave society, unfortunately, where you got 10 to 15 seconds a lot of times to get your message across. And so we got to show people visually how beautiful Oklahoma is.
Yeah.
And if we do that, I think more people are going to show up here, and then we can wow them.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Does that picture look familiar to you?
It does. It does. What I'm most proud of right there, that family.
Yeah. How's the family?
Family's good. Yeah, family's really, we've taken the truck photo like that for the last 12 years in different jobs that I've had. And, I started off with, I think, just having that girl in the middle that's now a junior in high school.
Wow.
I know. She looks just like her mama. And then, now we got 4 kiddos in the house.
Yeah.
And but it's a fun time. I mean, I got 11th grader, an 8th grader, fourth grader and first grader, so 10-year gap between the 4 of them, and so it is. Every day is a new day. Every day is something different. We try to be in routines as much as we can, but the family's good. Lisa's business is still thriving. I mean, I brag about her as much as I can. The second lady of Oklahoma. She doesn't like it when I say that. She is the second lady. She is an inventor and an entrepreneur, and invented the Binksy baby shopping cart hammock. And I know we probably talked about that. That was a big reason we ran for office in the first place, was really to promote entrepreneurship and small business growth. And so she still is operating her baby business and making a lot of different baby products. So she makes shopping cart cover now, and the hammock and a number of clothing products as well for moms and babies. So I'm really proud of her, and she's done well with it and ships her products all over the world. But that's given us an even greater insight into how products move and sometimes how they don't move. I mean, this supply chain issues that we're having. But the world is flat when it comes to making products and shipping products. And I want more products being made in America. I want more products being more operations being reshored to America. I want that. But that's a really difficult process. And so we've got to do a better job at a federal level, and we've got to do a better job at a state level too, to incentivize companies to move back to America. Because it is when it's financially makes more sense to make a product overseas. We've got to make it make sense for people to make products here. And so we certainly know all about that process. But proud of her, she's doing a good job with it. She's got a big warehouse and her office in Bixby, Oklahoma, right outside of the Tulsa area.
That was my question. I was going to ask about Bixby, Oklahoma. That place has exploded.
It has exploded. I mean, the sprawl, some people like that word, some people don't. But, my kids are at Jinx, and now Bixby is the new Jinx, as they call it. And there's plenty of room to roam out there. I mean, it used to be just fields. I mean, just cattle fields decades ago, actually not that long ago. And now it is housing division upon housing division. And that growth has been good for Tulsa. We have over 1 million people in the Tulsa area now. Oklahoma City thriving as well when it comes to housing growth. Good luck finding a house for sale in Oklahoma these days. And certainly we can talk about that, just this growth that we've seen of people moving here. But Bixby, Broken Arrow, Owasso, those are some towns. Even Collinsville is one of the fastest growing towns in America, in Oklahoma today. So it is interesting to see that kind of growth. Most of the growth in a state happens outside of those urban areas. A big job that we have, both Governor Stitt and myself moving forward here, over the next decade, we have got to move some growth back into rural Oklahoma. Over the last 10 years, we just completed the census, and we grew by about 200,000 people statewide, but we lost population in 2/3 of our counties. So we lost over 70,000 people in rural Oklahoma, but we grew in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, essentially, in those suburbs. That's not a recipe for a strong state. Most states were that way. I mean, you have people leaving rural parts of this country and moving to urban areas. There's always going to be some of that, but we've got to make sure that there are job opportunities in rural Oklahoma. It's a big job that I have moving forward in this job.
That'll be interesting. What do you think are kind of steps 1 and 2 for that?
I think our career tech system, and I talk a lot about it, it has to be in the middle of that strategery, so to speak, in rural Oklahoma. Nice. We can train people at these career tech centers in rural Oklahoma and go immediately to work within 18 months. Get a certificate in any trade. But you have nursing, accounting now at our career tech system. So I think career tech can help fast track, closing a skills gap in this country. And if you close a skills gap in Oklahoma, you can recruit manufacturing facilities. We can recruit really any company. But I would say career tech is up there. I'd say our tribes. So our tribes are heavily involved in rural communities, hiring people. I was just in Mulgee, Oklahoma, and met with their tribe there. Was down in Durant recently. They are hiring a lot of people in rural Oklahoma. There's a lot of rural towns where a lot of these sovereign nations are, and that has to be a part of our plan moving forward of creating job opportunities. So if you create an opportunity, then you combine that with either the high school or a career tech system to train them to work at that facility. Then you got something. And I don't listen. I don't. It doesn't have to be the shining star company that everybody's trying to chase around the country. I don't care what it is, to tell you the truth. I just want a high-paying job, and that's what those people locally want too. I'd love Tesla to come. Sure, I'd love the Panasonics. Where a lot of talk about those companies. These are huge, globally known companies.
Sure.
I want those. But I want the small 50-person manufacturing facility that's just tired of doing business in Kansas City. That may want to move to Henrietta. I want that too, and I guarantee you the citizens locally in those communities want that.
How's Canoe?
The Canoe's still doing work out there at Mid-America. We believe that eventually they're going to start building cars out there. Now, right now they're just turning dirt over. They're preparing the land. But Mid-America is the 8th largest industrial park in the country, so a lot of conversation is happening about Mid-America. But we have a great relationship with Canoe, still do. They're working through their business model right now, but they're aggressively promoting their products. I mean, they have a lot of these test vehicles at all over the country at different trade shows. So we still firmly believe that Canoe is going to be a great Oklahoma company for forever once they start building out there.
That's a cool looking car.
It's a really cool car.
I think it looks really cool.
And electrification of vehicles. I mean, it's happening now. How quickly it happens, you're still going to have the combustible engine. I mean, you're still going to need gas powered vehicles. But we want the full buffet in Oklahoma. That's kind of what we call it. I mean, the wind, solar, electric. Hydrogen, we want it all, but we know that the foundation is still oil and gas. It will continue to be oil and gas. We saw this with the cold spell, right, last year. Very dangerous, particularly down in Texas. Well, we survived that because of our oil and natural gas and coal supply that we had in Oklahoma. So it should not be discounted, not just discounted. We should make sure that we are doing everything that we can to help promote and grow the oil and gas industry in Oklahoma. It's still the backbone of Oklahoma and will be moving forward.
So you talked earlier about the influx of people to Oklahoma. And we see that across the country. I mean, there's a lot of movements of populations. What do you think today is maybe the number one reason people are looking for different communities?
It's really exciting to see this. So we're the 11th fastest growing state since the pandemic started. And we've had over 35,000 people have moved to Oklahoma over the last year and a half. A lot of them retirees. So there's a couple things going on. Number one, we're just an affordable state. We're an affordable state right in the middle of the country. Someone can move from California, Washington State, somewhere out west, move to Oklahoma, be free, truly free. We do freedom here. We bottle up and we sell it, and
drink it for breakfast.
That's right. Buy a huge home, be around friendly people. I mean, it's paradise. It truly is paradise to a lot of people, and baby boomers have told us that. So. That's who usually comes first. Okay, someone's selling a house, they're retiring, they're out of the workforce, and they're just trying to find a friendly community where their money goes a whole lot further. Well, that's Oklahoma. And what the next step for us are these companies. I mean, if Dell is looking to open a new headquarters, a second office or third office. I mean, Dell has offices all over Texas, and why not Oklahoma being kind of the next state for them to expand their operation? You're going to hear more about that. The Panasonics of the world, the Teslas of the world, over the next 10 years in Oklahoma, it's not just going to be retirees. We want a combination of both. We want a combination of both. And we want to keep the homegrown talent that we're raising here happy so they actually want to stay here.
Yeah.
That's huge for us. I mean, these mechanical engineers, electrical engineers that could go work at Tinker Air Force Base, for example, they need thousands of engineers over there to work in, very specialized aerospace companies. I mean, kids today would die for those kind of jobs. I mean, those are the kind of jobs that they're dreaming about coming out of college or career tech. We have them. I mean, we have them here. But we've got to make sure we're making that pitch, because if we don't tell them where they can go make a living here, or make sure we're in their high school or in their college talking about those opportunities, Mississippi will steal them. Alabama is stealing them to Huntsville, Alabama. That's a real big, huge NASA hub down there. And I use the word steal. I mean, I'm blunt about it because I want parents to get offended by this. I mean, because I would be, I've got one that's a junior, so she's starting to look at colleges. And, we're not going to force her to stay in Oklahoma, but, we want her to. But even if she went to college somewhere else, we want her to be able to come back and find a job here in Oklahoma.
Sure.
And I think we got to keep the big thing down at the state capitol. And that is private sector job growth.
Yeah, I like it.
Sometimes it's also just attracting people or getting people to know about Oklahoma, come visit, and then see what it's about. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the tourism efforts.
Yeah. It's one of the best tools in our toolbox when it comes to economic development is tourism. And it was one of the biggest reasons that I wanted this job as lieutenant governor, because the lieutenant governor is chairman of the Tourism Commission. And I really doubled down on that with the governor, and he kind of appointed me as secretary of tourism. So I'm on his cabinet, and I come in there and to give a report on how many people are coming to Oklahoma. But it really is, to your point, we sell really well when people come to Oklahoma. Yeah. In Oklahoma City, Tulsa, I mean, all these Route 66 communities, when we can get people to Oklahoma, we sell really well. And during COVID, a whole lot of people showed up.
That's awesome.
With a lot of other states shut down, we had about 3.5 million more people visit our state parks during COVID. And it showed off Oklahoma in all of the ways that we want to show it off, and to where they get back in their car or family roadster and go back home and say, hey, I had no idea that Oklahoma was this great. We're going to come back again. We're going to spend more money. And they very well may be having conversations about moving here now or relocating businesses here. And so tourism is fun, and tourism is a star for us in Oklahoma. It's something fun to talk about, but what I remind people, it's very important to leverage it because it truly is just that best tool that we have to get people to Oklahoma City for a 3-day weekend. I mean, Mick Cornett's book, The Next to Great American City, if you haven't read it, or if you're listeners, you gotta read this book. But he tells it's a very depressing story about that when Oklahoma City was trying to lure an airline in the mid 80s. Well, that airline was very smart to send families to Oklahoma City for a weekend. Didn't tell us that they were doing that. They went back home, and it was very clear what the answer was. There's no way I'm moving to Oklahoma City. Well, Oklahoma City 1980 is not Oklahoma City 2022. Right. This is a world-class city. If that story would have been today, game, set, match. Game, set, match. We would absolutely have won that deal. And Oklahoma City realized that after we lost that deal back in the 80s, and that's when MAPS came about. So if we're investing in our communities now, we're investing in a world-class city and a world-class state, and I think that bodes well for us moving forward to recruit and then retain those people inside the state.
Yeah. Speaking of tourism, let's just say hypothetically, Governor Stitt, yourself, and I, we go down south and we go noodling. Okay? And Governor Stitt gets injured, and he's like, man, I can't. I got to be out of the office for a week.
It's signing hand.
Yeah,
yes,
are you the second in command? Are you
the
governor?
I would have to step up.
Okay.
I would have to step up,
okay.
Yes. And I know that you were talking to him about some noodling. He had to go noodling because I went noodling. Right. But, we did it in a demonstration tank. And so I've told the governor, it's time to, take it to the next level here. We need to go out to a lake or river with a guide. So I'm not sticking my hand in a beaver hole.
Sure.
Because that's when you lose fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so how do you know before you stick your hand in? it's you don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. When he's out of state, I'm governor.
Okay.
Anytime he leaves, so that's why I have the T-shirt that says, I'm governor, and then it says, when he's out of town. That's the T-shirt that I wear in the Memorial Marathon every year.
Oh man. Yeah. So maybe next summer we all can go.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can set that up.
I've told people I don't care why someone's coming to the state of Oklahoma to spend money when it comes to one of our tourism attractions. It could be noodling. It could be, something at the Oklahoma City Convention Center. It could be a concert. But all of it combined it makes for a very diverse tourism industry and very colorful. I mean, right? We got Native American history. We have the cowboys and Indians that people do love. I mean, this Native American history that we have. Chisholm Trail and that pioneering spirit, it is unmatched. It truly is unmatched. I mean, I say that all the time, that no state can match the heritage and the history of the state of Oklahoma. And when you stop and you think about the power in that comment, that is what we have to make sure that we highlight. We can't just say it and then not put money behind it. If you put money behind it, we're going to turn into a world-class state because more people are going to come here and they're going to want to move here.
Right. Your love for FC Tulsa runs pretty deep. So
it's deep.
In honor of soccer,
deep. Oh, no
we
way.
have some gifts.
You are awesome.
This is for you.
Oh, yes.
And this is for the missus.
Oh, heck, we're going to wear this at our next FC Tulsa game.
And that's for you.
Oh, I love it.
And this is for Mariah?
Yes.
Yeah. That's for her.
Right, nice. Oh, this is fantastic.
We can give her the bag.
Well, I'm going to, I'll make sure to put that hat on and put that on social. Yeah. I never was a soccer guy growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma is a American football culture, as I'm sure you all know. But soccer is becoming a big deal, and Oklahoma City is going to be building a new arena for the Energy. The Energy is coming back. So for those watching or listening, OKC Energy is coming back because we need that rivalry. We need that FC Tulsa OKC rivalry. But I think that sport over the next 10 years in America is going to grow by leaps and bounds. With the World Cup coming up too.
Yeah.
It's kind of prime time for soccer culture.
Yeah.
Ooh, World Cup Oklahoma sometime.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
You think that could happen?
Well, we built a river here in Oklahoma City, I mean, I think we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, I love it.
Maybe, and listen, we do have Olympic events here now.
Yeah.
We with the Boathouse District, we actual Olympic events here.
Yeah.
But I think it may take a few more seats, to make that possible. Yeah.
Do you run your own social media, or do you have someone?
I've got a team. I mean, so Mariah that you mentioned, Mariah does a great job in my office helping me out. They do get nervous though because I do have control over my social media account, so I still do some social media myself.
Awesome.
My Instagram is mostly me. In all sense, tweets still, but it got to a point where I had to have somebody on my team. I just didn't have the time to put socials together. Every once in a while I'll do it, but no, I've got a good team that helps me now. Yeah.
I asked that because my question is, how do you handle the negativity you see on social media?
I mean, listen, it's a big reason why I did have to bring a team on board too. I mean, I tell politicians, don't read the comments, right? And we are, I hate saying change agents, because people, I think, throw that around too loosely.
Yeah.
But Kevin Stitt is, and so am I. We are not in these positions to do anything other than to help Oklahoma grow the right way. And that meant making some changes. And so we know that change is hard sometimes. And a lot of people sometimes are uncomfortable with change. And we want to do it the right way. I mean, we're not always going to we're not going to go 9 for 10 every time, but we're going to make decisions. And Colin Powell, that quote, if you have some enemies, good. That means I made decisions in life.
Yeah.
If you're just comfortable and stay in your comfort zone and don't make decisions, well, yeah, you can be pretty popular.
Yeah.
But also pretty unknown.
Yeah.
And so I listen. I'm glad we're making decisions. I don't want to waste my wife's time, our kids' time, not moving the needle and trying to move the needle. It's why I picked up the phone and called our Department of Transportation and said, hey, we got to fix these welcome signs. No one had done that in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's really not a job of the lieutenant governor, but I kind of took it upon myself to say, hey, guess what? We're going to make decisions here. And some people may not like that we took down the halfway falling down signs, which we got very little pushback on that one. But, then we fixed the welcome centers, right? And we're like, why are you fixing bathrooms? Why does that make? Well, I can show you with the ROI now why it makes a difference, because people don't stop at rest stops if it doesn't have clean restrooms.
Yeah.
Didn't cost a whole lot of money to do that, to fix those things. That's why we're putting new bathrooms inside our state parks.
Yeah.
People have jokingly called me the public restroom czar of the state of Oklahoma. I wear it as a badge of honor. I do, just because I think politicians can get way too comfortable, and they let ego get in the way. And that's when you don't make any decisions, and that's not good for a state that needs movement. If you're not moving, you're losing. I say that a lot, but I think too many politicians get way too comfortable. Governor says this a lot. There's far too many people, I think, in this state that are okay going 3-7. We would never accept that of our football coaches.
Right.
That's right.
We would never. If Brent Venables goes 3-7, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. Gundy gone if he goes 3-7. But it seems like we're okay with the legislature being okay with going 3-7 or 4-7, as long as it doesn't mean we're there's people upset with us, not people upset. Listen, we want to go 10-1. We want to go undefeated. We want to try to go undefeated, and that means we're going to think outside the box. We're going to make decisions, and if that's the legacy, we're just fine with it.
Yeah, when you talk about getting a little bit uncomfortable, sometimes that can come with some setbacks too, because if you step out like that and you're kind of blazing new trails, you're going to face some setbacks along the way. Did you have any of those?
Yeah, we did. Certainly with COVID, it was like an arms race trying to get personal protection equipment into the state of Oklahoma. It was a mess. We had people flying around trying to meet with people at airports, trying to secure personal protection equipment. That was rough. That was really tough to go through that. And every decision you make, is under the microscope. And so COVID wore a lot of us down. We were proud of the way we handled it, and we were one of the first states to reopen. But we had to be very careful with that too. So, we started this "Okay, Here You Go" campaign with tourism to say, hey, people need to spend their money in Oklahoma because they can't travel anywhere. And that was a positive campaign that we did. But it also meant that I had to make a very tough decision to pull money away from spending money in Kansas City or St. Louis and spend more money in Oklahoma. It ended up being successful, but it was a really hard decision to make. And we weren't spending as much money outside the state, which is really where you want people coming into your state and spending money and going home. And so we're now having to reshift those dollars back to those traditional communities. But those are always a couple things that come up in my mind. The rebranding of the state, which, has been good. A lot of people, really asked us a lot of questions of why we were doing it in the first place. I said, well, go to oklahoma.gov and I'll tell you, there's nothing there. We want to show some color again to show that, hey, we got forests in Oklahoma, we got a desert in Oklahoma, we got, the blue skies and all this water. And so we've been proud of it. But again, change is tough. It's tough. And, we put up these new welcome signs like the day after we launched. And I think a lot of taxpayers were like, we're not used to stuff happening like this quickly.
Right, yes.
And it kind of freaked some people out, but we're glad we did do it that way.
Yeah.
And it's been good the last couple of years.
That's great. You talk about being uncomfortable and making decisions, and then you can probably become unpopular to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So personally, when was the last time you challenged yourself with something you've never done, and what was the outcome?
Yeah. That's so. We in my position, we get asked to do all sorts of wild and crazy things. You mentioned the noodling. For me, I love doing some of this stuff, but it's still uncomfortable, to stand up in front of certain groups. Because I'll probably do 3 or 4 speeches a day a lot of times. But I'll tell you, one of the I spoke to a foster group recently. It's different agencies that recruit foster care parents, and we were our family. We were foster care parents for a few years before I became lieutenant governor, but I hadn't been as involved in the space. But to sit down with those different agency directors to hear the stories, I mean, you talk about fairly uncomfortable stories that. But it reinforces how far we have to go as a country when it comes to not just Oklahoma. I'm talking as a state. And I would say, I mean, haven't jumped out of an airplane recently, or some of those uncomfortable activities. But sitting down with an agency, this happens a lot actually. Whether it be a Department of Health or mental health. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening to this state agency director tell me these stories. I'm just thinking, man, we got a lot of work to do. And I guarantee if the Arkansas lieutenant governor was sitting there, or Mississippi, they'd be saying the same thing. It's not specific to Oklahoma, but there's only so much you can do in a day. And so it's like, what can I do today to put the Department of Mental Health in a better position to be successful? And that's about, those are the questions that I ask every day. But that's certainly what I was asking myself when I was meeting with these agency directors when it comes to foster care, because we've got a church on every street corner, seems like, in Oklahoma.
Right.
We got thousands of nonprofits. Like, we have no excuse. And if this truly is the friendliest state in the country, with more churches probably than any other state, with this thriving nonprofit community, we need to truly solve the foster care problem that we have in the state of Oklahoma. We shouldn't have thousands of kids in foster care. And but if I dedicated every hour of my time just on that one issue, it would still take years to solve it. But those are the uncomfortable meetings sometimes that I go into, because I want to solve them faster. But as long as we are focused on it, I think we can get there. We have wonderful people running those agencies, but that kind of gives you a behind the scenes a little bit on some of these agency meetings that I have. We have over 200 government agencies, by the way, and there's issues and problems that we're trying to tackle every day inside those agencies.
That's really interesting. So, when we had you on before, we discussed your defining moment, and I'm sure our listeners can go back and watch that. That was a very personal defining moment. I'm curious, the defining moment of your term as lieutenant governor.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. My defining moment, it probably was. The biggest thing that I tackled was the rebranding of a state. I mean, it's funny, and I'll go to a lieutenant governor conference, and I'm sitting around the table with a bunch of other lieutenant governors, and they're talking about the boards and commissions that they're on, and I said, well, I just got done rebranding the entire state of Oklahoma. And they're like, excuse me, what did you do? And I do think back on that and how big of a lift that was. Thousands of people around the state of Oklahoma volunteered their time on this. We were never going to please everybody. It's worked out really well, because we knew it was going to take time to kind of get out in the wild, so to speak, and be able to tell the story of why we have the color that we have, and bringing back the original state star in that logo. But I think that was my defining moment, because I was able to go around the state and tell Oklahomans, make the pitch to Oklahomans that we have to define who we are as a state. And if we don't define who we are, then 49 other states are going to define it for us. And we've succeeded in that. Telling the story of Oklahoma's beauty and diversity and our landscape and our people. That's what the logo is. The Imagine That is just a campaign theme of imagining a state. The word imagine is one of the most powerful words in the human language. And I didn't even know this until a pollster told me this. But the word imagine. And so we're using this as a campaign around the country to say, imagine a state where you can still live your American dream. Imagine a state with more man-made lakes than the other state. Imagine more shoreline than Florida and California combined. I mean, those are we're trying to tease that out to people, both on a tourism front and an economic development front. And we think we've really hit the mark to tell that story. But that was my defining moment, I think, was was not the unveil. The defining moment was getting all of these public relations and advertising people from around the state that came to Oklahoma City to volunteer their time for that day. And a lot of them were sitting there with their arms crossed starting off. They're like, what is this? Is this just going to be same song, 10th verse? Like Oklahoma says they want to do something different. I think that was my defining moment because I walked into a hornet's nest with a lot of perceptions that a lot of people had, and we quickly tore down a lot of walls. Mm-hmm. And we left that day into different breakout groups and those groups helped build the brand. I think if I had to pick one day, that was it, because you sign up for adversity as a politician. You sign up, to be in rooms where not everyone is going to agree, and to be able to leave that room with some vision, with what we wanted to do as a state. I'm still very proud of, but I think that probably would be my defining moment in my first 4 years in office.
Yeah, we were on board buying Oklahoma shirts.
We got on right away and bought some gear.
Yeah, and we're still selling a ton of it. That's good. It's been good to see.
Yeah. What are a couple questions you wish people would ask you but no one ever asks?
Oh gosh, great question. I think one of them is kind of what I was getting in the weeds on a little bit with these agencies. I don't think taxpayers realize what those agency directors are doing on a day-to-day basis, and that's why I've told, hey guys, you have to be a whole lot more proactive here. Mm-hmm. You have to show taxpayers what services we're providing. Yeah. And that's why Oklahoma.gov looks a whole lot better. It's much easier to use interface. But I think one of the questions is what do these state agencies do? Because I think when a taxpayer has to interact with state government, a lot of times it can be frustrating. But I think they would be very interested to know that we stood up an agency just to address getting a new license in the state of Oklahoma, which I know is something that has been a headache. Or your 16-year-old turns 16, getting them a license. A lot of times people are showing up in line at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, we know that's a problem, and so now we have an agency that's in charge of that. I think there'd be a lot of Oklahomans that would be interested to know that. We're trying to address that as quickly as we possibly can. Maybe another one would just be maybe the background of these different elected officials. Yes, I'm a politician, but I'm a dad. I mean, I'm a dad first. I'm a husband. I'm a father. So I go to t-ball games and high school. I mean. So asking those type of questions as well. I am a real person. Before you want to ask me questions about issues going on in Oklahoma, I'm doing this because I want, if I'm looking at a crowd, I want those families, their kids and grandkids to thrive in the state of Oklahoma, just like I want it for my kids. Mm-hmm. And that's what drives me every day. Yeah. And I think we should be able to rally around that. Sure. And let's rally around that first and then talk about how we want to build the state. Yeah. But I think those are always a few questions that are helpful that a lot of times people don't ask. Yeah.
How do you balance that, being a politician, a dad, father, son?
It is a weekly balancing act, communication is certainly key with Lisa. Where are you going today? Where are you going tomorrow? Who's taking the kids where? And I would say we're pretty strict on how many nights a week that I'm doing events. I mean, I could do an event every night, but we say no. We try to say no more than we say yes, frankly. We just have to. We have too many requests to be different places. And so we try to keep it limited to a couple nights a week. I'll do anything in the middle of the day, breakfast, lunches, but evenings are tough. And weekends, we've really stopped doing most stuff on the weekends as well, which means we miss a lot of events. But it means I have a healthier marriage and a healthier family life.
Yeah. Number 1 or 2 places that you take the family in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, there's certainly southeastern Oklahoma in the Broken Bow area. We love Hochatown. If you have not been living on Hochatown yet, those watching or listening, you got to go. It's amazing. Yes. Medicine Park is becoming a new fave for us, right in the foothills of the Wichita Mountains. Right outside of Lawton. Really fun, cool little town, and the Airbnb operation is becoming there's cabins right at the foothills of this mountain range. It feels like a Colorado mountain town.
Yeah.
Cool.
You've really got to go to Medicine Park. Super cool. And I'll tell you, I mean, with Oklahoma City and Tulsa now creating, it seems like a new tourism attraction on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
We're now spending a lot of time just in our backyards
Nice.
of Tulsa and Oklahoma City. I'd love to go to Western Oklahoma, Black Mesa, and see the stargazing in the month of September, but it's just harder to get out there right now. But yeah, I mean, those are a few places that we go a lot. We go to Grand Lake still. We've got a place up there. We love Grand Lake. Carlton Landing at Lake Eufaula is awesome. So I mean, I could go on and on about the places, and we try to visit new places because there's always something to discover in Oklahoma. That's the tagline for our television show. And so, like Robbers Cave, we're going to go to Robbers Cave again soon. I would highly recommend that as well.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Governor Stitt talked about the diversity of energy, renewables, and you mentioned that earlier. And my wife is really huge into crypto.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on mining for crypto?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of companies because of our affordable electricity that we have. We have a lot of mining, data mining companies, crypto mining that are, and we have a bunch of them already right now. Northeast Oklahoma in particular, kind of in the Miami, Nowata area. We got a lot of land. And you have electric companies that are willing to do contracts with them. So I think that will grow. We just closed a deal on Data North. I'm probably butchering that name, but up in Mid-America Industrial Park. It's a crypto company out of the Dakotas that is operating a really impressive operation in Mid-America. So I'm big on it. I am. I mean, I know the valuation is fluctuating right now when it comes to crypto, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And it's one more thing that can help diversify our economy. Vast Bank in Tulsa was the first bank in the country to accept crypto, and they have a crypto operation. So now you got banks, making it again more, known for people that say crypto. What is this? Now that you got banks, involved in that space. But yeah, once the climate gets better and those numbers get a little bit better when it comes to the market, I think you'll continue to see more data mining companies want to move to Oklahoma.
Any recruitment on the front of like blockchain technology is going to be a big deal, both for like implementation at the state level, but just blockchain technology companies in general coming to the state. So any sort of, I know there's certain states that are doing like blockchain task force, like Texas.
That's
Utah.
funny. We don't. I don't think we currently. I'd have to ask the Department of Commerce and Brent over there. I don't know if you've interviewed Brent Kissling, but he'd be a great interview as well.
No, we have not.
Brent would be a great one. I don't know if we have a task force for that. We have a broadband task force because we're making sure that we're going to have reliable internet to 95% of Oklahomans within 4 years. But we do. We need to do that because again, that's an industry that's growing, no doubt about it. Hydrogen and some of these other energy sources that are really growing. But we don't want other states to beat us to that.
No, no. Especially if you have the energy here to handle some of it. And, the technology side, I feel like Oklahoma could be on the bleeding edge of the new technology front.
I completely agree.
I think so, too.
Yeah, get Margie on that task force.
Done.
Every Sunday night, she hosts a Cryptolino wine mixer, and it's crypto people coming in.
I didn't know
They
that.
talk about projects,
Twitter Spaces. I don't know if you're familiar with Twitter Spaces, the new thing, and we do discuss different tech and blockchain stuff on
Did
that.
not know that. Wow,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any cryptos?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I use the Robinhood app actually.
Oh yeah,
Good.
So I've dabbled a little bit.
Good.
Yeah.
It's rough right now. I know.
It is.
It'll
but
get better.
I played golf with someone who's really into it. Works at a bank.
Oh, nice.
And kind of in the Tulsa area, and he kind of goes around the city and kind of educates people on how it works. And so it was fascinating to me.
Neat.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
Man, over the last 4 years as lieutenant governor, I think and I do say this in some of my speeches, I didn't have to change my website from what I wanted to do when I was lieutenant governor to what I'm doing now. Meaning, I actually, the things that I was campaigning on, I'm actually able to do in office. That's very rare. Most politicians will talk about a lot of things, but then they don't actually have the authority to do those things once they get elected to office.
Yeah.
I do. And so, from branding and marketing the state, extremely proud that I've had some authority over that, talking about and promoting this tourism industry that is world-class, having the ability to do that. I think that's what I've been most proud of, is that people now, they now actually know what the lieutenant governor's job is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's a position where it is what you make it.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of a blank slate. But, I can go anywhere now around the state and people know, oh, yeah, you're the tourism guy, you're the salesman for the state. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just get into a position and just, go speak to a bunch of high school graduations. I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
But I wanted the position to be more than that, and it has.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of that over the last 4 years.
That's amazing. Do you feel like the vision you had for the state going into it aligned when you started going out and talking to people in different communities, or did you have to kind of adjust or sway to kind of meet the vision of the people that you're serving?
I think there certainly was a pitch that had to be made. Of, hey, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to rebrand the state. We're going to get Oklahoma is okay off the license plate. Those type of conversations. So there was a pitch that I made. The first, I kind of went on the road to tell people why we were spending time doing this.
Yeah.
And it's really paid off. When we were interviewing people and they were going to oklahoma.gov and they weren't sure they were on an official government website, it's bad.
Yeah.
You know it's bad. And so that didn't cost a whole lot of money to do that, to upgrade those type of efforts. So that there was an education process on that. When people when they realize how bad it was, then they're saying, oh, okay, well, sure. I get it. I understand why we're spending this kind of time.
A culture of humble people.
Yes.
Not even
Yes.
humble braggers,
Yeah.
just humble.
That's
so
right.
you tell them we kind of got to brag a little bit,
Yeah.
or we kind of got to market ourselves. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable as a culture like we have.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You really nailed it. Yes, we are humble. We are kind people. And I love that. That's what people love about Oklahoma. But we don't beat our chest as much as we should.
Right.
Like Texas does.
Yeah.
I'll just, unfortunately, they're really good about bragging.
Yes.
Probably too much. But we should be bragging too about the wonderful things that are happening
I
here.
agree.
Because I think there's going to be a lot of Texans that are going to be moving to Oklahoma over the next 10 years.
Wow.
That state's really filling up. I think people are tired of 2-hour commutes to work. And, you get 30 to 40 million people in a state. I don't care how big the state is. A lot of those big urban areas are getting just too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not as business friendly as they used to be either.
Yeah.
So I feel good about the future of Oklahoma with a lot of our Oklahomans that live down there coming back.
Yeah.
That's
That's great.
incredible.
We brag about our 1 and 2 governor and lieutenant governor all the time to our friends. And then also we brag about the kindness, the kind culture that Oklahomans actually really have.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword for me sometimes because I came from Colorado, studied there, was born there, and then I did not move back there.
Yeah.
Because I love Oklahoma, but my fear is I tell too many people about Oklahoma,
It's good. Yeah.
and then I don't have my Oklahoma
Yes,
anymore.
yes,
So there's
yes,
always
yes.
that element to it where I'm
Yeah.
kind of like I'll delicately share
Yes,
it here
sure.
or there because I don't want to ruin this good thing that we've
Yeah.
got going on
I,
here.
I get you. We have people bring that up to me, a lot. I think Oklahoma's got to keep that DNA.
Yes, yeah.
We need to keep our DNA. We do.
Sure.
And I think we can.
That's good.
But this is, I think, now one of the most talked about states that we have in the country right now. Truly, it's becoming its state, kind of the middle of the country. All of these, middle America states: Ohio, Michigan, Oklahoma, Iowa, even. You have a lot more deal flow looking at those states because the valuation of companies on the coasts, to invest in those companies or move there, they're just being priced out of the market, and they're starting to look at other states in the middle of the country, and one of those is Oklahoma.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Wow. How was the weekend hanging out with Coach Switzer and
Oh,
the boys?
it was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do get to do some pretty fun things.
Yeah.
We were doing a fundraiser there in Oklahoma, or in Norman, before the OU game, and then took my boys to the OU game. Yeah. A good example of a good brand and the pride. I mean, obviously football and OU and OSU, but anywhere that I went in the country, anywhere, when they found out I was from Oklahoma, they would say Boomer Sooner.
Wow.
You know, it was like the number one thing people would say to me. So it is a brand, and that brand needs to be protected and grown. And OU gets that. They understand that it's bigger than football. That means more money that's coming to that university for research, world-class research, and graduating kids that will hopefully stay in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how do people get in touch with you or find you?
The best place for people to go is our Facebook page and our Twitter account and Instagram. So we almost post on a daily basis on Twitter and on Facebook. Yeah. So just search for Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell on Facebook or on Twitter. I have a campaign account and our official account. Our official account's what posts on a daily basis. Yeah. We try to keep it real, keep it fresh. And then Instagram is LTGov Pinnell on Instagram.
Last two questions for you.
Yeah.
First, as Lieutenant Governor, how does Lieutenant Governor Pinnell want to be remembered? And then how does Matt Pinnell want to be remembered?
That's good. So Lieutenant Governor Pinnell, if I had to put it on a billboard, it would be salesman for the state. I hope it's 8 years, and if it's 8 years, I think we're going to get a lot of good things done of selling and marketing the state of Oklahoma. So I mean, 8 years from now, or 4 years from now, if someone, he was that lieutenant governor that promoted and sold the state in positive ways, and he was positive running his office too. I think I'm just fine that being my legacy as lieutenant governor. As Matt Pinnell, it's husband and father. The rest is icing on the cake, and as far as I'm concerned. To be a good father and a good husband, that is good enough for me as Matt Pinnell.
Yeah. So after 4 more years, when you are actually undefeated again,
that's right, 2-0.
Yeah. Are you think about furthering your political career?
You know, it's a big decision that I have to make in the next year or so, couple years. Sure. Because that's usually a 2-year race, probably. And we will consider it. We'll pray about it, of course. That's certainly one that we will be praying about. And we just don't know. Right. And truly we don't. I mean, when I ran for lieutenant governor, it was to do some specific things as lieutenant governor. I knew it was tailor-made for me in my background in sales and marketing. But we'll take a look at it. Awesome. We will. We love serving. I mean, and it could be, but it very well could be serving in a different role. We don't know. But we do love service. We do love public service. With all the highs and lows to it, I've loved it. And so we'll be taking a look at it in the next couple of years.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. We are honored, humbled to have you again, and this has been great.
You guys are awesome. I mean it. We're so thrilled that you're in Oklahoma, that you promote the amazing things about Oklahoma, and have helped a whole lot of people. I mean that. You really have. And I think through COVID too, you guys were a real rock for a lot of folks. So you really do demonstrate that Oklahoma standard. So. We're very lucky to have you guys in Oklahoma.
Thank you very much.
It's so good to see you again. Thank you for coming.
All right.
Great job.
Thank you again for listening to Defining Moments podcast. If you like what you heard today, you can find more episodes on YouTube, search Defining Moments podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Do us a favor, if you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. That helps bump this podcast up and reach new listeners. And if you have a story that you would like to share, please reach out to us. Thank you again for listening. Stay undefeated, family. We appreciate you.
Let's go, champ!